like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come into Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. We're on at 10 o'clock. Again, a one-hour show from 10 o'clock to 11. Today, it's on the air, off the presses, with our guy, our media guy. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in. Do turn down the sound. We'll be here until 11 a.m. An exciting show here on Connect with Me on this day on MeTV Fresno, Comcast 187 and 43.6. And do call in because we're going to be here for the next 60 minutes. 436 MeTV option 11. Do not hesitate and do turn down the sound. We encourage you to call in. A lot to talk about. We've got on the air, off the presses. In the second half hour, we'll talk to Doug Vagim about some of the city issues and the latest victory in court for him as far as the water issue goes. You know, they're talking about raising your water rates. Well, the guy that we're interviewing today, Doug Vagim, is trying to stop all of that. But first, let's get right to it. Our topic of the day, how the media has handled the Donald Sterling situation in particular. You know, Donald Sterling, the defamed now owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, and now being banned from all games, and they're going to try to force him to sell that team. I don't know if that's going to happen. It all happened because of a taped conversation with his, well, I guess you could call her estranged now, his estranged girlfriend. It all broke on TMZ of all places. Didn't break in the New York Times, didn't break in the Fresno Bee, didn't break on MSNBC or CNN. It was TMZ. This is how the conversation went between Donald Sterling and his girlfriend, V. Stiviano.
Honey, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, too.
I wish I can change the color of my skin.
That isn't the issue. You missed the issue.
What's the issue?
The issue is we don't have to broadcast it.
I'm not broadcasting anything. I don't do anything wrong.
Nobody said you did anything wrong.
I don't do anything wrong. If we ever have any issues, it's because people call you and tell you things about me that are not true.
Why are you broadcasting?
I'm not broadcasting
Why are you
anything.
taking pictures with minorities? Why?
What's wrong with minorities? What's wrong with black people?
Nothing.
What's wrong with these
It's
families?
like talking to an enemy. There's nothing wrong with minorities. They're fabulous. Fabulous. Because you're an enemy to me.
Why?
Because you don't understand.
I don't understand what.
Nothing.
That racism still is alive?
No, but there's a culture.
What culture?
People feel certain things. Hispanics feel certain things towards blacks. Blacks feel certain things towards other groups. It's been that way historically, and it will always be that way.
Live in our studio now is Dennis Hart, our media expert, to talk about the Sterling fallout and how the national media handled this, how it all went down. 436 MeTV option 11. Of course, those comments about African Americans coming from Donald Sterling, the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, banned for life by the NBA commissioner. Just about a week ago, Kevin Johnson, the former NBA player and now mayor of Sacramento, instigated a lot of this. Of course, a lot of comments coming from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and others around the league, including, we heard just a few comments from Michael Jordan, and you never hear Michael Jordan talk on any issue, but he did speak out briefly on this one. So 436 MeTV option 11. We'll cover some other topics with Dennis, not only the Donald Sterling thing, but specifically how the national media handled this. Amazing that TMZ broke the story. We're back with our program. Do call in. Back in a moment.
Station 51. Station 51. Television is in dire need of help. Emergency. Paramedics John Gage and Boy DeSoto, please report to MeTV immediately.
LA, Squad 51.
Dr. Brackett and Nurse McCall are awaiting your arrival.
Please stay with me. Just this one thing. It's very important.
Emergency.
Never thought anybody'd find me here.
Fire department, staff. What's the address?
On MeTV, weekdays at 5, 4 Central.
10-4.
You're free to call in and offer your thoughts about Sterling. Was he set up? Is he a racist? Should he be banned from the NBA? Hey, Dennis Hart is here. I want to introduce my guest first, and we got a call right off the bat.
Right,
might as well take it, right?
Let's do it.
Good morning. You're on Connect with me.
Hey, I don't see why everybody's making a big deal on this thing with this coach. Doesn't he have constitutional rights, too, to have an opinion? What happened to the First Amendment? I guess only the blacks have that right, huh? They're taking it away from the whites now?
Well, that sounds a little racist right there, but let's answer your question, okay? Of course, Mr. Sterling has First Amendment rights, but unfortunately for him, the NBA has rights also. And when he signed up to be an owner in the NBA, he signed an agreement, which is that he could be removed as owner of the team for conduct detrimental to the National Basketball Association. His rights coincided or conflicted with the rights of a league that is 75% black, and advertisers who were pulling out of the NBA and out of the LA Clippers because of his comments. He certainly has the right to believe that. He certainly has the right to say it, but the NBA has certain rights to remove him, and they are pursuing those rights.
Yeah, they are, but there are a lot of people. I'm not going to sit here and say that I agree with anything that Donald Sterling said.
Well, let's hope not.
The thing that I question is how all this broke through TMZ. It's almost like he was set up. Are we not entitled to our private thoughts?
Absolutely.
Isn't it illegal to tape some phone conversation without consent from the other party? That's the other question. I thought it was illegal. So there are all these other questions. And not only that, the NAACP, for God's sake, has taken millions of dollars from Donald Sterling over the course of years, and they were going to honor him.
Which one of those would you like to talk about first? You've thrown a lot of things on the table.
It's just a troubling situation.
It is a troubling situation. It is a spectacle.
It's convoluted.
It is crazy town down there. It is an amazing spectacle, but let's take it from the top.
Okay.
In California, it is illegal to tape a two-party conversation without the consent of the second party. However...
well, then what happened there?
Well, hang on. Let's talk about that. It's illegal. It can't be admissible in a court of law. But she did it, and it was released to the media. It's not illegal.
Isn't that a felony or a misdemeanor at the very least, if you do that?
Well, it is not, if it is going to a court of law, if somebody decides to sue, but somebody released it to TMZ, okay? And that's not surprising to me because...
Yeah, but the fact that she taped it without his consent.
Well, okay, she did that. Let's get beyond that. It went public. It went viral.
Okay.
Now you've got a scandal going on. Whether it was illegal or not, now he said this stuff. He said the stuff,
now
and it's reprehensible, okay, to the National Basketball Association.
I'm not fighting that issue.
No. So the NBA had every right to do what it's doing, what it did. Adam Silver, within 96 hours, think about how this spread. TMZ puts it up there on Saturday morning 10 days ago. Now it becomes it's viral out there with the internet, with Facebook, with Twitter. It becomes a sensation, etc. The national media pick it up. So here you have the owner of an NBA team, all right? The worst owner, by the way, in pro sports. This is without a shadow of a doubt, this guy has been a racist for years. There's no issue with that.
That's the thing, and he's still in the league.
He's still in the league because what he did in denying people the right to rent his properties, and he made a multi-million-dollar settlement with the Justice Department because they sued him. He was sued for that.
And of course, the NBA just looked the other way.
The NBA looked the other way.
David Stern, the former
not
NBA.
Adam Silver. This was tossed in Adam Silver's lap. He's only been the commissioner for 3 months
This was
now.
a David Stern problem. He just decided to turn the other way.
But here's the point. Okay, so now it goes viral. Now you've got the owner of a team in a league that is 75% black. Okay,
Right.
that's a problem for the NBA in terms of Donald Sterling, not in terms of what's happened. The stars are black. Okay, so now advertisers are pulling away, and they all pulled away from the Clippers in those 96 hours. So now you've got, and the players were threatening a boycott of the playoffs. That would have been ruinous to the NBA. You have players striking during their playoff, during the prime television time for the NBA. He had to act. Adam Silver had to act. He acted appropriately, in my way of thinking. He banned him for life from the Clippers. He fined him $2.5 million to a billionaire is nothing, by the way. So that was the maximum that Silver could fine him. He had to take those steps, or the NBA was going to be destroyed within a matter of weeks.
Didn't the media pick this up like a loose football and like a fumble on the football field and run with it? And how was their reporting? I mean, they all carried Adam Silver's news conference live, all the networks, except for, I must say, I was watching 24, and they started the news conference, and they went to a commercial right when he started talking.
Well, that's another issue with Channel 24, and we'll talk later in the broadcast. But
what was up with that?
Well, many things with Nexstar and Channel 24. But let's get back to Donald Sterling and to Adam Silver. Yeah, it became a national firestorm. It got out of control. This was a perfect storm. I mean, set up by TMZ, set up by social media, et cetera, et cetera. The networks picked it up. And, of course, the ultimate came Friday night when Barbara Walters, who has made her name for the last 30 years interviewing nobodies and sometimes somebodies and doing stupid interviews, now gets V. Stiviano, the alleged mistress. By the way, Stiviano, I think, characterizing herself to Walters as Sterling's silly rabbit sums up the whole thing. What the heck does that mean? What are we even talking about here?
I don't know.
And so Stiviano now, who wears a mask in public, although we know what she looks like, and who says that she's going to become president of the United States one day. Is this crazy stuff? I mean, here we have, what do we have? We have the Russia reigniting the Cold War in the Ukraine, trying to take it over. We have Syria in a civil war, Iran about to go nuclear, and we're going crazy over Donald Sterling and his racist comments, and V. Stiviano, whose name is Maria Vanessa Perez, by the way. That was her real name until she changed it to V. Stiviano. What's this all about? My goodness.
I don't know. So I want to get into the specifics about how you think the media covered this, because it was all over CNN.
Sure.
They all picked it up.
Sure.
Every network. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. Go ahead, caller, and make it quick. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask your guest, is there any legal recourse for Sterling? I know he signed an agreement, some certain stipulations that regarding his conduct, but couldn't you make a case that, as the host was saying earlier, this recording was done without the subject's knowledge, and therefore, if it were to come to court, doesn't he have a legal leg to stand on?
Well,
he's
now,
going to be vilified, no question. But
yeah, I mean, he made the comments. There's no issue with what he said. The problem is that there are now reports that he knew the conversations that he had with Stiviano were being recorded. This was recorded, this particular one, back in September of last year, apparently, but I've now read reports that he knew that their conversations were being recorded. Why in the world anybody would agree with that, I have no clue, but that is what she would claim if he took her to court. Now, again, he's not going to take her to court at all.
I mean, that's a ridiculous argument to stand on, isn't it?
Well, not if he agreed
How
to
about if I
it.
tape record our conversations?
Well, we are being recorded right now. We're going out live, aren't we? So, isn't that being recorded? So how can I say, wait a minute, I didn't know anybody was watching this one. No. If he agreed to it.
Sterling had no idea that she was taping.
Well, we don't know that, because now there's a claim that he did have an idea. But let's say he didn't. Okay, let's say he was completely oblivious to the fact that his mistress, his silly rabbit, the woman he gave houses to and cars to and all of this, wasn't recording the conversation. But he's admitted to the NBA it was his voice on the tape. There's no lawsuit in that.
He admitted it was his
it.
voice, but wait a minute, you can't tape me without my consent.
Well, what's he going to sue her for? I mean, his wife's already sued the woman to try to get all the stuff back that he gave Stiviano, so what's he going to sue her for, okay? Listen, you didn't give me enough sex. I gotta have something in return for this. This is how crazy this is. Look what we're talking about here.
I know.
A renegade NBA owner with a multiracial mistress or silly rabbit who releases...
He has a long history of being a racist to begin with.
Well, there's no issue. He's a racist. There's no issue with that whatsoever.
I know that. Despicable comments by
and
him.
it becomes a firestorm because the media jump on this. It even made for a time, and this is stunning, CNN stopped doing breaking news on the missing Malaysian airliner, and there's been no news on that for weeks, but they've been breaking
focus
news
on Sterling.
Exactly. That's a stunning turn of events. CNN's been living on this for 8 weeks, and they haven't found the airliner.
Well, like Fox News has been stuck on Benghazi for how long?
Oh, I know. Oh, for years on Benghazi. I mean, Bill O'Reilly did it again Friday night. Gotta get into Benghazi. Much more important than V. Stiviano. Much more important.
All right,
Wow.
436, MeTV option 11. I'm going to push the phone number today, ladies and gentlemen. Is it up on the screen? There it is, 436, MeTV option 11. Do call in and offer your thoughts on this ridiculous topic of Donald Sterling and his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, V. Stiviano. We're back on Connect with Me in just a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
I'm mixed?
No, I don't know.
You know that I'm mixed.
You told me you were going to remove those. You said, yes, I understand you. I mean, you change from day to day. Wow. So painful. Wow.
People call you and tell you that I have black people on my Instagram, and it bothers you.
Yeah, it bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with black people. You have to?
You associate with black people.
I'm not you and you're not me. You're supposed to be a delicate white or a delicate Latina girl.
I'm a mixed girl.
Okay. Well, but
and you're in love with me. And I'm black and Mexican, whether you like it or not, whether the world accepts it or not.
Well, another episode of Donald Sterling and V. Stiviano.
Wouldn't it be
here on
nice
Connect
if
with
Donald
Me.
Sterling and V. Stiviano just went away? We've had enough of them. I mean, he is the perfectly cartoonish buffoon, isn't he, the villain in this thing? He's J.R. Ewing in real life,
Right.
you know?
You know, I read a very interesting story in the New York Times last week that it was on the front page, and it said that Kevin Johnson, who is a former NBA player, played for Cleveland, played for the Phoenix Suns,
Mayor of
played
Sacramento
Mayor of Sacramento
yes.
now.
Yep.
He received a phone call from the player rep from the LA Clippers the day after this audio tape was released, and put pressure on Johnson. Well, you didn't have to put pressure on Johnson. No. Johnson immediately picked up the ball and ran with it. He called Adam Silver, was on the phone with him all weekend, talked to player reps from other teams, talked to LeBron James on the phone. In fact, I think LeBron James immediately called Kevin Johnson and said, hey, what's going on with this? What are you going to do about it? And so he's the one that really put pressure on Sterling to do the right thing and ban him for life, because the question in the story is, I mean, the focus of the story was Johnson putting the pressure on Sterling. You have to wonder if Sterling would have gone this far had Johnson not put that pressure on him.
You're talking about Adam Silver.
Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner.
Let's remember how this thing started. Stiviano had posted a picture of her and Magic Johnson on Instagram. That was what was starting.
That's what started the whole thing.
And when you start talking about how you shouldn't associate with blacks, which is what Sterling said to Stiviano, I don't want them coming to my games. You're talking about Magic Johnson. One of the
he didn't want Magic Johnson coming to his games.
One of the 3 or 4 icons in the history of pro sports. Okay?
Pro sports, that's right.
Now you've got a firestorm, and now you've got all the players in the NBA, 75% black. Yeah, I think there was pressure on Adam Silver to do the right thing, don't you?
Yeah. Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning.
Go, you're on the air.
I'd just like to make a short comment, where earlier you compared the Donald Sterling situation with the Benghazi situation, and I think that's a poor comparison since 4 Americans lost their lives in Benghazi, and to my knowledge, Donald Sterling hasn't killed anybody.
No.
The
The comparison, I think, was in terms of media coverage, in terms of how the coverage of Mr. Sterling in the...
Right, but you were laughing. I mean, your actions speak louder than words. You were laughing and you were being jovial over a situation where Americans have lost their lives.
No, you misinterpreted my laughter on that.
I'm
okay?
sure
I was talking
I
about media
misinterpreted.
coverage.
I'm sorry.
That's
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make the comment.
Right. I mean, look, let me make it clear. We're not laughing at the Benghazi thing. 4 Americans were murdered. I think it's kind of comical to see how the national media focuses on story. And I'm not saying the Donald Sterling story is not important, because it deals with race in this country. It is important.
Right.
But is it more important than a story like Benghazi, or a story like Flight 370,
right,
or a story like the Ukraine? Is it more important?
Right, that was the point we were trying to make, is that there are more important issues out there in the United States right now and in the world. Clearly, this is an important issue for the second, for the moment, okay, because it touches on that touchstone that you can never touch, the third rail that you can't talk about in America, which is race, and that's what this talked about.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's I just got a comment. It's funny how the left-wing racists can say whatever they want and get away with it. And this is getting really sad. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure, though. I'm sorry that the caller hung up there, because I'm not sure of what example he'd like to cite on this. There are left-wing racists. There are right-wing. Racism has nothing to do, I don't think, with ideology. Racism.
There are racists on both sides.
Of course there are. But these are comments that seems to imply that left-wingers get away with it, and Donald Sterling, and I don't know what his politics are, do you? I have no idea whether he's a Democrat or Republican. Doesn't matter.
I've read, okay, this makes no difference to me one way or the other. I'm just going to tell you what I've read. I've read that he's donated millions of dollars
to the NAACP.
And the Democratic Party.
That's exactly right. Okay, so let's say if Donald Sterling, a left-wing racist who's not getting away with it, the fact of the matter is this is a different conversation. People who are calling in trying to defend Donald Sterling's right to say this, nobody's saying he didn't have a right to believe this. The NBA had to take steps because this touched on their livelihood. This outraged the key players in one of our 4 major sports leagues. These players were threatening a strike during the playoffs. Advertisers were pulling away. This is not something you ignore.
Had Kevin Johnson not picked up the ball and put the pressure on Sterling, I wonder what Sterling would have done.
You're talking about Silver now.
I mean,
Adam
Silver.
Okay.
Silver. If he hadn't picked up the ball and put the pressure on Adam Silver,
well, I think
the NBA commissioner, what would Silver have done?
Well, we don't know that. There's no way of knowing that. But the fact of the matter is, Johnson knew that players were talking about striking. Should he not call Adam Silver and say this? Should he say everything's fine? And by the way, when you have your next playoff games on Tuesday night, your players aren't going to be there.
Yeah.
So he did know this. Yeah. He also knew that advertisers, all the major advertisers who were involved with the Los Angeles Clippers, had pulled away. They were gone.
Silver,
that's millions of dollars, folks.
In that news conference, did Silver look besieged?
Of course.
He looked like he was under siege.
Of course. Well, who wouldn't be? He's been commissioner for all of 3 months. This is tossed into his lap. He didn't create this issue. He didn't allow Donald Sterling to be an owner in the NBA. He got it tossed into his lap. To his credit, I want to credit Adam Silver. He did the right thing at the right moment under great pressure. What else could he have done? What were the alternatives?
Yeah, he looked like he had the weight of the world on him during that news conference.
He did.
The weight of the world. I'm surprised he looked nervous.
I mean, this is a long time coming for Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling is a renegade, okay? He's a racist. Let's put it that way. He's a renegade. Remember what Donald Sterling has been and has done. You will recall perhaps 30 years ago, we're both old enough to remember that, he moved the Clippers from San Diego to Los Angeles.
I remember that.
Without NBA permission.
It was right along the same time that the Kansas City Kings moved to Sacramento.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what allowed Sacramento to move, the Kings to move to Sacramento from Kansas City.
Sterling did not have
Sterling's actions
Sterling
before that.
did not have the owner's approval. The NBA fined him millions of dollars, okay?
I know.
Sterling has also settled, again, lawsuits with the Justice Department because he did not want to rent his properties in Southern California to minorities. This is a bad actor, okay? Does he have a right to do that? Yes. And does the government and does the private business have the right to react against that?
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
And they did.
Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. Your question, caller?
Yes. About this broadcast you're televising, how many players have disrespected their coaches and their owners and basically got slapped on the wrist? They wasn't taken off the team indefinitely. why is there such different rules for the players, coaches, and owners?
Well, because the owners sign an agreement in the National Basketball Association. There are 30 teams, 30 owners. When they become an owner and go into the NBA, they sign an agreement giving other owners the right to remove them when they engage in conduct detrimental to the National Basketball Association. That's what's being invoked here. Sterling signed that agreement. The other owners can remove him on a 3/4 vote. Do you believe that his conduct is not detrimental to the National Basketball Association, that it doesn't reflect on other owners? If you believe that, you're very much in the minority, because other owners are tarred by this, by his comments. They also have voluntarily signed black players who are stars in the NBA. 75% of the players are stars in the 75% of the players in the NBA are black. That's a fact. You cannot have an owner disrespect, insult those players and expect to have a viable national sports league. And that's what the NBA was facing. That's why they took the action against Donald Sterling.
Okay, we're talking with Dennis Hart here on Connect With Me, 436 MeTV option 11. Do have to go. We got to take a break. Back in a moment.
From now on, when I sneeze, I'll try to sneeze more friendly.
Just in case you missed it, on Saturday night down in Los Angeles at the Staples Center, the Clippers beat the Warriors in Game 7 of the Western Conference playoffs. I believe the score was 126 to 121.
It was.
So the Clippers do move on to the next round.
That was a remarkable thing that they overcame the controversy here to beat the Warriors in this round. That could have destroyed a lot of teams. Doc Rivers did a great job of keeping that team together, their coach.
Yeah, it really did. But before we move on, do you think the national media did a decent job, a lousy job, a sterling job?
It became a media firestorm, and often in media firestorms, rationality does not win out over responsible reporting. I think the national media had to cover it at some point. However, I think the low point was clear. Well, some of the stuff that was on Twitter and the Facebook, etc. I think the networks covered it fairly well until, of course, Barbara Walters got involved on Friday night. Barbara Walters is about to retire after 90 years with NBC, ABC, etc. Barbara Walters has interviewed people over the years with stupid questions, some stupid people. This was a low point with V. Stiviano. Walters used to be the anchor, as you'll remember, of ABC's World News with Harry Reasoner. Now
you may not think it's an important story, but there are a lot of people that maybe wanted to hear from Stiviano.
There's a difference between an important story, which in its way it was because of the impact on the NBA, and a sensational story.
You don't think Americans across the fruited plain wanted to hear from V. Stiviano?
Oh, I wanted to hear from V. Stiviano. I'm talking about Barbara Walters. I'm talking about this being the culmination of her career. She's going to retire next month. No, I get later this month. Interviewing V. Stiviano was somehow symbolic of where her career's gone. You know, the host of The View and all of this stuff.
But it was okay to interview, and you were interested in hearing what she had to say.
Oh, I was mesmerized. Who wouldn't be by V. Stiviano? I mean, she says she's going to become the next president or a president of the United States, and if she keeps wearing that visor, who can deny her that? I mean, there's no question about that.
Right. I mean, it can still be a riveting interview, even if you're not interviewing the president, right? I mean, even if it is V. Stiviano, and it was rather riveting.
I will say this. I think even V. Stiviano stunned Barbara when she said she was a silly rabbit, because Barbara asked her, a what? And we all said that, a silly rabbit. I thought she was Donald Sterling's mistress. It turns out she was just his silly rabbit. Okay.
Good morning. You're on Connect With Me. What's your question?
Hi, I just wanted to ask, does he think, does he think that after this is all over, that this is still going to be good publicity for the NBA? I mean, there's nothing, I read the saying, there's nothing like bad publicity, still good publicity. I mean, there's a lot of people that are now behind the Clippers of all things, you know what I mean, because of what Sterling said. Revenue's probably going to go up, people buying shirts.
I think it's a great question, and let me answer it by saying, first of all, what Adam Silver did is the best he could have done at this point for the NBA, but it's not nearly played out because I think Donald Sterling is going to fight the owners if they vote to remove him. I think he has lived his life in court. He delights in going to court. He's 80 years old. He has nothing to lose on this one, okay? I think he will drag this thing out, and I think we may see this go on for years until he dies, until he gets tired of it, until the judicial process wears out. You know, he would make $500 million if he sold the Clippers right now. They're not going to take the Clippers from him. They're forcing him to sell the team. Well, he bought the doggone thing for like $15 million years ago.
There's going to be a fight on that.
But he won't take the money. He doesn't need the money. I think he revels in this publicity, don't you? He's 80 years old. He's got a biracial 31-year-old mistress out there, okay? He loves this stuff. He's got a 50-year wife. His wife of 50 years is suing the mistress. He loves this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll sell the Clippers voluntarily. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, they'll have to yank it out.
They'll have to yank it. But it's not a matter of taking him and making him impoverished. He'd make $500 million if he sold it.
Right.
This to him is more important than the money, believe it or not.
Let's move on to another topic, and that is Jimmy Fallon, your buddy. Jimmy Fallon, I know, still at the top of the heap, and he's on the cover of one very interesting magazine, Golf Digest, right?
Jimmy Fallon has won the late night wars in his first 3 months on the air. There he is, first time that an entertainer, I think, has been on the cover of Golf Digest. Golf Digest has done research which has found that golf is now being played primarily by 55-year-old white men, since we're talking about race on this program. They're trying to reinvent themselves. They're trying to reinvent themselves with millennials, people in their 20s and 30s. Jimmy Fallon perfectly reflects that. He plays golf, doesn't keep score when Fallon plays, but think about this. A late-night star, and he has won the late-night wars. He's already won them. He wins every night now, crushing Letterman and the guy on ABC whose name
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, Kimmel. I can't even forget the name. Nobody watches him. But this is a remarkable turn of events because Fallon also was on the cover this month of American Way magazine, the American Airlines magazine that you get in flight. He's on the cover of Golf Digest. He is the new face of late night, and I think he's going to be the face of late night for decades. I don't think that Stephen Colbert is going to be able to dislodge him when he takes Letterman's show next year. It's a remarkable turn of events for NBC. They have reinvented the Tonight Show. Fallon's a winner. He's a winner.
Okay. Craig Ferguson. He's out. He announced he's quitting, and I think he's a little peeved at not getting Letterman's
Exactly right. Once he didn't get Letterman's slot, his fate was sealed, I think. He wasn't going to stay in late night. Now they're talking about who can replace him. One of the names I hear is Neil Patrick Harris, who is this multi-talented guy, the star of How I Met Your Mother, stage star, hosts the Tony Awards. He'd be great. I don't think he'll do it, though.
We got a couple of more topics to talk about. Bud Elliott of KC24 out.
Leaving end of this month after May sweeps, yes.
Yeah. How is that going to affect the landscape, do you think, in TV news?
Not very much, unfortunately, for Channel 24, because at this point, very few people are watching 24 and 47. 30 has all the audience. Bud's been on 24.
They're losing a veteran.
A veteran.
30-plus years.
And a good guy. Bud Elliott is a great guy. I know him personally. He's a very good guy. Been on 24 off and on for 25 years, etc. But their audience has diminished to a point where he and Stephanie do not have very many people watching at 6 o'clock, unfortunately for them. So I think it's going to be an interesting decision on who 24 moves in. I thought Stephanie, at some point, I thought she was going to leave in the near future. But now that, her possible replacement, Lindsay Pena, who has moved to Channel 47 as the replacement anchor.
Out. What happened there?
We don't know.
What's going on?
Well, Evie Ramos says that they took her off the air. 47 is saying, look, she was planning to leave anyway because her husband or boyfriend was getting another job. She denies that. She was just pulled off the air right before the May sweep, so it wasn't voluntary, but we don't know what the real story is.
So Pena replaced her, and now Stephanie on 24 is staying because of that.
Well, we don't know whether Stephanie's staying, but there's no obvious replacement for her on Channel 24, unless 47 and 24, and remember, they're owned by the same company, Nexstar.
Yeah, Nexstar.
And they've put the same reporters on both stations, unless they just decide, you know what, we're going to simulcast both newscasts. We're going to have the same newscast on both channels.
During the Adam Silver live interview, the NBA commissioner, 24, went to a commercial. What's going on there?
They've got technical issues because they've combined their operations over at Channel 24's place on McKinley Avenue. They've got new equipment in there. They're trying to run both stations out of that same building. They've had a number of what we call screw-ups. That's the technical word for it in broadcasting, right? Where a 47 will often, during their newscast, not be able to run their commercials or sometimes cut away from their own newscast during 6 o'clock because of the electronics that are going wrong there. They're trying to mesh their two operations into one. It's hard for them.
All right. Our next guest is in the building, so do you want to stay or go?
No, I think Dennis Hart will have left the building.
Okay, Dennis Hart will have left the building. We'll see you next month.
I'll be here, my friend.
All right, Dennis
and hopefully we're not talking about V. Stiviano and Donald Sterling next month. We're talking about something substantive.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Dennis. I
Thanks,
appreciate it. The one and only Dennis Hart here on Connect with Me, our media expert. We're going to be back with the second half of our program. Here we'll talk to Doug Vagim about water rates and all the other political stuff going on around the city. Remember the telephone number 436-MeTV option 11. Back in just a couple of minutes.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Now, why don't you tell us the whole story right from the beginning? All right, from the beginning. This is the city, Los Angeles, California. My name's Friday. I carry a badge. Police officers.
You any idea who the other man was?
My partner's Bill Gannon.
Program?
We got just one big question.
Yeah.
When?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Playing cowboy. Come on, let's go.
I'm an old cowhand from the big old grass, and my legs ain't
If you're looking for a fight, you're gonna fight it.
Say, you reckon this thing is loaded?
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on Connect with Me, and we're going to be talking about some other things here on the program, of course. We're going to be talking about some city politics, and we'll be talking about water rates and some other things. I noticed that we do have a phone call. Let's take that before we introduce our next guest. Good morning, caller. You're on the air here on Connect with Me. What's your question?
Hey. No, my question is I'm trying to get your Connect TV, but I just don't have no volume to it. What can we do about it?
Okay. Can't help you with that problem. You'll have to call back later. Don't know. Not getting audio? I don't know. I don't know what the issue is there. So continue to call in, 436-MeTV option 11. We've had numerous phone calls on this day, people who actually can hear us at home, and we are here to take your calls on any topic that you want to talk about, but mainly we're going to kind of talk about politics right now. We focused on the first half hour, of course, on media, the media coverage on the Donald Sterling situation. Now time to introduce Doug Vagim. How are you, Doug?
Good to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, I appreciate it very much. And I was reading in the paper, I guess, was it last week? I guess you won another court battle. Was it last week?
Yeah, the final local court battle. We had to go through many stages at the city drug us through.
This has to do with the water rates, the city wanting to raise the water rates in the city of Fresno, and you are fighting them in court, and they're trying to get everything thrown out.
Well, no, not necessarily. What they're trying to do is stop us flat, John.
Yeah, they're trying to throw everything out of court and stop you dead in your tracks.
Absolutely. Well, they didn't want us to get started.
Right.
And we have the right to get started by California constitutional law that says the people have the right to do an initiative if they disagree with something that their government has done. A referendum is another angle. We couldn't use a referendum because it deals with finances.
So tell me specifically, Doug, what happened in court last week?
Well, the judge had ruled a week before in a written opinion that the city was wrong and that they should actually be thrown out of court is essentially the simplest way to say it. And the fact that his ruling was so, I think, stringent, it just said that there's no room for you to amend your complaint. Your lawsuit ends here in this particular lawsuit, and I'm going to give the judgment to the defendants, which was us, because they sought the ability not to participate in this process, which they are needed to participate for us to move ahead. And that,
so where do we go from here?
Well, we had moved around that with a writ some months before that to expedite where we wanted to be, and we got that permission before. The city should have just dropped their lawsuit at that particular point, but they didn't. They just kept going, spending money like...
How much money is this costing the city?
Oh, I believe they'll probably have spent over $250,000 by the end of the day, and that's out of cash out of our pockets that we pay as ratepayers.
So you're talking about what, $300,000-$400,000?
Yeah, at least, and they will have spent that money that could have gone into the ground to fix up the infrastructure they complain about, and instead they sent it to LA lawyers. Now, what does that tell you their mindset is?
I want to put up some graphics, some of the water rates back in 2013. This would be August of 2013, and you tell us if these figures are pretty much accurate as we see them, of course, up on the screen. And there's the first one right there. I guess the average monthly bill will be about $18, right? As of last year, last August.
That's before the rate increases.
Right. So in 2000, let's jump 3 years down the road. 2016, it will have jumped up to $48.34 if the city gets their way.
Yeah, that's $48.34 on an average use of water. Okay, and the city stated.
What's an average use of water?
Well, they say the average use of water is 1,800 cubic feet of water. Multiply 18 times 748 gallons, and that's how much water they said the average use of Fresno would have. Okay, well, that happens to be down about 30% from what they used to say their average Fresno used.
Of course, there's a water shortage this year because of the partial drought and the fact that a lot of water was just let go into the ocean.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
Why we're short of water.
But if we can just stay on the personal impact to an individual homeowner, the fact that the city used to say we use way more than what they are averaging that $48 to be, means that people will, in their minds, have to cut back to get to that 48 because they'll always be above it if they want to water the way they used to water. No one's suggesting that they water the way they used to water. I would like the city to tell the truth, though.
About?
Well, you used to use this much water. If you use the same amount of water, it's not going to cost you 48. It's going to cost you 65 or something like that, you see.
I see. So that figure is a little misleading.
It's very misleading, yeah. They just took an arbitrary figure and put it down there and said, well, this is what the average homeowner uses. Well, you take their published per capita gallon use and multiply it times the linear length in a month, you're way above 1,800 cubic feet a month.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that you can even water your yard or plants with all that, your trees or anything. I mean, it's limited water use. Yeah, that's basically what it is, Doug. That's what you're talking about. Right. Limited water use. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I got a comment before I have a question, and my comment is, we're pretty darn lucky to have an advocate like Doug Vagim working for the common guy, seeing to it that the city doesn't tromp all over the regular ratepayer and try to railroad this thing through just because it's been a can that's been kicked down the road. We're unfortunately the victims of that. And there's my question. Hey, talking about wasting taxpayers' money, does your guest care to comment on the mayor hiring the spokesperson while she conducts a part-time campaign for state office? Got any comment on that, Doug?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I think the obvious comes to fore. I'm just an average Joe, and I'm glad you recognize me as just an average citizen, and I appreciate the fact that a lot of average citizens are out there helping us do this petition.
Yep, his name is Mark Standriff. $125,000 a year he was hired to be the city spokesperson, and he was hired out of Sacramento. He's a Republican political spokesperson. Meanwhile, the mayor's out campaigning for state controller. I mean, is there something wrong with this picture, Doug?
Well, the fact of it is that there's been a lot of things happening at City Hall. I haven't seen him step forward and be part of the front door of the
I haven't seen him at all.
And so I guess he's working in the background or whatever they're doing. But frankly, I disagree. It was an inopportune time to do it. He might be a very good guy, and I've never met him. He might be very talented.
When the city's hurting for money, you don't hire a guy for 125, more than double what the previous guy was making.
Particularly when you had a whole staff already there, and one guy was leaving, and you had other people in back of him that were younger.
Ready to go.
Right. So.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I called about somewhere around this time last year because I live in Fresno City, and I live in a neighborhood where not just me, but my other neighbors, we all like to plant our own vegetables and tomatoes. And last year, because it was so hot, we were just really watering it, and then we found out that through this show that the rates were going higher. And so we went in and we put in our signatures, the website that he gave us at one time. So the progress is still like an ongoing battle in the court.
All right.
I mean,
so what's your
you plan to do that again? Because I want to grow my own peppers and.
I'm not understanding. You're making a statement. What's your question?
Oh, how are we going along with this? What else can I do? Not just me, but my neighbors.
Well, have you signed a petition?
Yeah, online.
No, you can't sign. You can't sign online. California law makes you have a signature in ink on a piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
And so you have to. Well, right now we have people out in front of every shopping center, and you can come by Ventura TV. They have petitions here. You can pick one up and get your neighbors to sign it. You just got a few more days to do it if you want to do it in a big hurry. I really appreciate it. Every signature counts. But you got to pick up that little orange. Don't forget to pick up the little orange sheet that instrocts you how to do it, because you got to fill out the bottom of it too.
So this water thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Doug. Will this thing end up in the Supreme Court? Do you think California Supreme Court, the water issue?
Well, the city's already taken part of it there already. I'm sure the Supreme Court will wait for this to go through the appellate court and bundle it all up, and then they'll make a determination whether they'll take it or not. There's no telling what they'll do.
All right. Mayor Ashley Swearingen running for state controller. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, everybody who's in politics looks for opportunities. She's a young, attractive politician who has got a track record of running being a mayor of a fairly important city in this state.
Is she abandoning the city of Fresno?
And the problem is when you're in office and you want to seek higher office, you always have that subject to your vulnerabilities. She has that to answer. Can she pay attention to everything that she needs to pay attention to? I doubt if her initiatives that she was pushing so hard for.
Can she run the city and run for state
controller? Well, she's not going to be able to push the initiatives that she was pushing so hard for and running for office.
Absentee mayor.
Right.
All right. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, this is like two questions. As a person I live out of town. I live in the city of Reedley, but I've been listening to this water rate thing going on in Fresno for a while. My question is, what are the average Fresno household paying per month? Is your water connected to, like here in Reedley, to sewer and garbage? Because let's say if you can't pay your water here, they turn everything off. You get no sewer, no garbage, no nothing. And the average thing around here is about $140, $145 a month. That's what I'm paying.
Yeah,
and it's just me and my wife. So I just wanted to kind of figure what you guys are paying over there in Fresno, and maybe you guys have it better than us, and because of what you wish for.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, the utility bill in total is what you're talking about, and we approach that figure that you just mentioned with sewer, water, and solid waste. The fact that we were able to tackle this issue on an extreme raise in our water rates is something that's subject for the people to discuss. That's all we're trying to do, and any community can do this. And I urge any community to do this. Matter of fact, we're breaking new ground. We're like a big ice tender going through a lot of uncharted water right now, and the city is making sure that we're going through a gauntlet that we'll never forget. But we're making progress, and the fact that we're setting a precedence for other communities.
Yeah, I'm just interested, how can the mayor pay attention to this issue or any other issue if she's concentrating full-time on running for state controller? That's the big question. And should she continue to be paid a paid salary as the mayor of Fresno while she's running? That's the other question I've heard from other people.
And in all fairness, how can John Perez be the Speaker of the Assembly and run for the office? And how can Betty Yee run for the office as the State Board of Equalization?
That's a good question. Should they all be put on paid, or not paid leave, but leave? Take a leave of absence?
Well, I mean,
without pay?
That's a good policy question for the people of the state to discuss. But the fact that an office holder who seeks a higher office has that problem is not going to go away.
Okay.
It's just how you handle your duties.
Okay.
And time will tell on that.
Doug Vagim is here, 436-MeTV, option 11. If you want to call in, ask a question about anything going on at City Hall, including your water bill that may go up. Back in a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified, ready, steam-equipped, high-efficiency Frigidaire Affinity place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Frigidaire laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
And picking up on that theme that we left off on, can the mayor expect to focus on the issues here in Fresno while running for state office? Doug, she expects, according to an article in the Fresno Bee, to propose a fiscal budget for 2015 up to $287.3 million. Fiscal year, of course, starts July 1. This is what she wants to do: maintain the current level of sworn police officers, 711, add 8 new fire positions, increasing that total to 311, support job creation, and fund a limited degree, the equipment replacement program for the fire department. How can she concentrate on this budget plus run for state office?
Well, she's a policymaker as well as being the executive of the city of Fresno.
But this is a lot to handle, plus you have to worry about campaigns and donations and polls and who's liking me and who isn't, and who do we have to hit, what groups do we have to see, and what public appearance do I have to make on behalf of my constituents that are going to support me for state controller. How can she focus on this?
Well, she's going to lay out her policy in the budget. She's going to give it to her city manager, who is the operation officer of the city of Fresno in the charter.
Right.
The city council is the money bags of the and a policy making organization, accepting her policy or not accepting her policy, and that will go on. The problem is she won't have the time to devote. I don't believe. Maybe she will. To talk to an individual city council member in any particular meaningful way and over a longer period of time before June. And if she succeeds to get into the runoff, she'll be very busy going up and down the state of California, up all the way through November. So the issue is how will the city council react to her policy, and will they suspect that there's vulnerability if they want to take a move on some of the things that she doesn't want, and they want to load up? Will she have time to push back? That's a question that's going to be out there. We're going to have to watch to see what happens.
All right. What about the Fresno Grizzlies? They're draining the city. They lost $1.3 million last year. There's that baseball stadium that we've talked about many times before here on the program that's costing a bundle. I believe the Grizzlies owe about $1.5 million this year to the city. Their revenue was about $6 million or so, but still not enough. You go out to a ball game out there, Doug, and they're it's a sparse crowd. Exciting baseball, but sparse crowd.
One of the problems with minor league ball anymore, unlike the old days when you had the old Pacific Coast League and you had players hanging around through the whole season, a lot of them, You didn't have this wholesale trade out. Well, they changed the rules where the whole month of September was an open transfer. You could just move people in and out. You didn't have to.
Right, because of playoff implications in the major leagues,
Right.
they expanded their rosters and they can move all these players up.
So it dissolved a team like the Grizzlies, who maybe have a chance to win the league, and all their good players have just been transferred up. So you got to go to those games with the idea that you love baseball. You want to watch a player or two or three who may succeed and go up like they have, Posey and those folks.
But this is draining on the city financially.
Well, the fact of it is they were warned it was going to be a drain on the city. They were lied to about the fact that there was going to be revenue sufficient enough to make the payments. By the way, the state of California just ruled, and I've been on the show before where I took a staunch stand that they didn't deserve that redevelopment money as a bailout to the stadium. The state just ruled that they're not going to get that bailout money.
How much bailout money are we talking about?
$250,000 a year they just lost. So they'll have to find that now out of the general
city?
fund. The city?
Yeah.
City general fund. But see, that's why they went to the water fund and pulled $14 million out of it. It's nice.
And of course, they're getting $1 million a year from Chick Chansey.
Right. Well,
and then the team may or may not be for sale. I guess the value is about $21 million, from what I understand.
I think Major League Ball needs to do something with minor league ball to help it out to bring more people. And there's some things they could do, but they are not doing it.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, my name's Dave Thomas. Now, talking about the Grizzlies, they're saying about how the Grizzlies are losing a lot of money through the city of Fresno.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here. Go on. We're listening. Go.
And how come the Grizzlies be losing a lot of money when the Chachi Palace is making $60 to $100 million a month?
Well, that's a gambling casino, and they're rolling the dough in because that's the nature of our society. But
their only affiliation with the Grizzlies is the fact that they have the naming rights for the stadium, and they pay them, $1 million a year or something like that.
There's a one-time grant of $1 million a year for $10 million. Now, whether or not that's going to be renewed is another question.
That's the agreement.
Yeah, they're kind of in a tizzle up there over their leadership, and whether or not they're going to renew that is another question. Obviously, the city of Fresno would hope they would renew it. It would be good for them to do it. But the fact of it is, look, we have a stadium that's there. What are you going to do? You're not going to tear it down. We got to do something good with it. And there's other things the city, I don't think, is devoting way too much effort to try to save the implication that if they move other venues into there, for example, when they have soccer, they fill the place up. You can't get in.
Yeah.
And those, by the way, John, those were all written in the prospectus when the stadium was presented to the council and others, that we would be doing those kind of things to make the Chansey Park work.
All right, I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about City Council race District Number 1. That's the seat that Blong Jong is vacating. You've got several people running: Lawrence Cano, Mark Castro, Esmeralda Soria, Rebecca Rangel, who was here on Friday, Rama Dewar, Jackson Shepard, and Kerry Catalano. Catalano was on last week here, too, on Connect With Me. Interesting seat, District 1. What do you make of the race? A lot of interesting candidates here. This is the list, as you can see. You know all these people, so.
I don't know them all, but I met and know the majority of them.
The majority of them, you know who they are. Catalano, not related to the Catalano's Market people, by the way.
Right.
Right,
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
interesting, huh?
Interesting, and the fact that those races draw that many people that devote their time and energy to it is an amazing thing, and the fact that the people are not interested. That's what really gets me. The turnout will probably be about 15 to 20%.
In that district?
Yeah.
Because they don't care. Catalano told me he's knocked on 9,000 doors in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
What good's it going to do him?
Yeah.
He may lose the race.
Yeah. In that race.
And not only that, the turnout, like you said.
Yeah. In that race, it's like going to a gambling table and knowing what the odds are going to be and what the dice are going to pop up. So you got to know what every door is going to.
But it's important in who gets in there because it'll make up the dynamic of the council, who makes important decisions.
Right, and I think the makeup of an individual brings a lot to the table when you're analyzing a candidate. How are they going to, in the heat of the battle, in the pressure of making a decision, bring an analytical skills to the problem? Are they going to go to their basically who brought them and say I gotta shake hands with them and ask them first, or are they going to be independent? Or are they going to sit there and look at it independently? And I've always said anybody that goes to those positions and doesn't look at the people they serve first, like in this water situation, the city raised the rates and the majority of that council permitted it, and the mayor, and didn't care about the individual householder. Did not care about they were worried more about the city than they were about the individual householder.
All right, Doug Vagim, we're out of time, but always good to see you.
Thank you, John. Good to
Hey,
see
we're
you.
going to see you on Election Day. We're going to talk about some of the races and some of these other things that are going on here. It's just a little sneak preview, but thanks for coming in on short notice.
Time flies.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Doug Vagim, fighting for you, my friends, to keep those water rates down.
Yeah.
We're back with another edition of Connect with Me tomorrow here on MeTV Fresno. By the way, Blong Jong will be here.
Do you like me?
Just like me.
Like MeTV Fresno on Facebook. Get the latest news, interact with others, watch videos, become a fan of me. Exclusively brought to you by Ventura TV.